Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload we'll be talking about a potentially pretty large winter storm that could be occurring across the Midwest towards the end of this week, beginning of the weekend. And there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of details that have to be resolved, but that's as usual with most winter storms. And again, this one could be a pretty large snowstorm, if not a blizzard. So we'll be all talking about that. Before we get into this, if you guys would like to consider checking out my other videos, if you like this video, I'm a weather enthusiast, a hobbyist, and if you like this video, consider subscribing. And if you are a returning viewer, liking the video would be awesome. Otherwise, let's get into this and let's start diving into this potentially large winter storm. Alright, so let's start looking at the GFS model first. This is the latest model of the GFS run. And let's go back to the MSLP and precip. That's what I like to use. Again, this is still loading in a very far range, but this snowstorm potentially is not far out relatively. It's in a medium range forecast. The details have come in quite a bit in the last few days, so let's begin. Right now we have a bit of cold air across the eastern and portions of really the Great Lakes, and that's about it. Anywhere else it's pretty warm. We have quite a bit of moisture across the south into portions of Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and into Florida, Louisiana. This rides up, and I do want to briefly mention that there will be a bit of snow across the Virginia area. And sorry, my mic was just a bit moved away there. There could be a bit of snow. I don't know if I said quite a bit. There could be a bit of snow across the Virginia, West Virginia area with tonight. And this is not the snowstorm, but I do want to mention that if you live across Virginia, West Virginia, portions of Kentucky, Tennessee, and into portions of North Carolina, a bit of snow. And this nor'easter potentially, it's gonna transform into one, but it really misses the United States and doesn't do much. A bit of ocean effect across Cape Cod into portions of Massachusetts, definitely possible. But as we continue pushing this into the future, notice really nothing amounts because of that. We do see a clipper move in around midweek, Wednesday and into Thursday into New England and the southern Canadian area. A bit of snow showers, some sprinkles across the warmer areas. Again, nothing significant compared to what we could be seeing towards the end of the week. Now, as we push into late Wednesday, this is now Thursday, right? Early Thursday morning. What we see is, by the way, the temperatures will be extremely warm. Notice that the pattern we're in is extremely supportive, and that voice crack right there, extremely supportive of very warm air. And that's basically where the 32-degree line is. Anywhere south of that is going to be above freezing, which is pretty warm for this time of the year in almost mid-December at this point. Let's continue pushing this forward. What we see is a storm that earlier made its way onto the northwest, right? It doesn't look like much, but it is a piece of energy. We also see a large slug of moisture move through Mexico, northern Mexico, the Baja Peninsula, and eventually across the border into the United States of America. And we start seeing some snow across New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and while this low pressure is pretty weak at the time of arriving into the Four Corners, a bit further to the east than that, it really quickly intensifies given the fact that, you could see how much warm air there is, right? The Gulf Coast is kind of already flowing. If you see these isobars right here, they're basically flowing upwards like this. And what that allows for this storm to do is it allows it to strengthen more rapidly than it typically would. Notice there is already the isobars packing, right? We do have a high pressure to the north, so some winds are already starting to show as early as, this is I think late Thursday, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Thursday. And continuing this into motion, we see this low pressure intensifies, brings up more precip, combines that slug of moisture from the Baja that originally originated there, and it combines it with the snow, the little wave of precip energy across the northwest. And you can see that this GFS model run really starts amplifying quite a bit of winds, right? A lot of snow as well, some rain. We do develop a cold front, and obviously we do have some strong winds. Again, this is Blizzard Alley, right? This is where majority of blizzards across the United States occur, across the Dakotas, Minnesota, Nebraska, Kansas. It's kind of that area where the blizzards are most common. So if this were to be a blizzard, again, that wouldn't be anything historical. It would be though significant. So notice as this moves up towards the north, it also brings more warm air towards the north. So anything to the east of this storm will be seeing very warm conditions, pretty powerful cold front. At this point, it's hard to gauge how strong it will be, but there may be a bit of severe weather with this cold front if it does end up being as powerful as some models are showing. Again, severe weathers for December. It's not going to be a tornado outbreak. There have been before in December. It doesn't look as if this is, going to be supportive of that. The snow definitely impressive. It kind of stalls out. You can see it really over. This is a 18-hour interval. It doesn't do much. I mean, you can see it moves a bit further into northern Iowa, into southern Minnesota, and this is at around 12 p.m. Friday. So you can see this quickly stems from a little small system at 6 p.m. Thursday, 24 hours later, to being a widespread precip maker. Now, it's not a bomb cyclone or anything like that. It only drops 7 millibars, but it is strong. It has a lot of moisture to work with, and again, the environment is buoyant for that. Notice, strong cold front. This thing continues to stall across North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and finally makes its way into portions of southern Canada. You could see the UP mainly seeing rain out of this, maybe a thud of snow at the beginning, but then it converts itself to rain. And, there will be chances. This is just one storm. It does bring back quite a bit of cold air. If you look at this, we have that classic storm shape that's kind of falling apart. Here's a cold front. Lots of cold air, right? Here's that weakened warm front that is extending pretty far to the north, and here we have that cold front further down to the south. So this is a pretty long duration, large storm. This is now midday Saturday, late Saturday afternoon, early evening hours. Now this is pushing into Sunday. And if you're wondering when this is Sunday, this is the 13th. So around a week from now, this is what it could look like, right? But the impacts will start occurring much earlier, as you saw. And notice that the Northeast could also see quite a bit of rain, even maybe a bit of lake effect pointed towards the north because of how the winds are kind of oriented, especially towards the beginning right here. You could see that the winds are kind of steering it up like that. So, vertical at least, horizontally from east or from west to east, maybe even a bit of a southwest to northeast lake effect type. But again, that quickly switches as the low pressure gets on the gets further to the east and the winds blow off the lakes, and lots of rain. So no snow for the northeast, or no significant snow out of this system. But just look at that. So much moisture with this. This thing does not die out. I mean, it really loses its storm shape, but it has just so much precipitation. It continues producing tons of snow across Canada. Southern Canada, my friends in southern Canada, mostly rain across the populated areas, though definitely say north of Lake Superior into western Ontario and eastern portions of Manitoba. Definitely seeing some pretty heavy snow. The European model is more favoring heavy snow for those areas than GFS is. And just to show you that in the future there are additional chances, look at this. Another snow system right further to the south. This time the UP gets more snow out of this. The Arrowhead of Minnesota really misses out. And again, and another one. So, you can see this is almost like if they're just refreshing these storms. Again, these are very, very far out, but if this were to occur, it's not something that has been unheard of. December typically is an active pattern, especially during La Nina years, where there's a lot of precip, not much cold air, and again, plenty of chances. So everybody, I understand this winter has been a bit unusual, but what winter hasn't been? Always throws a kick. We've seen decent amounts of snow across the northern plains already into portions of the northeast, but it has been relatively warm. So unfortunately, the latest GFS model run doesn't go out as far to show the snowfall totals. They always lag a bit behind. It takes a bit for them to load. Let's take a glance at the 12Z, and again, this is a different model run, but just to give you an idea of what the snowfall totals may look like, you can see that the GFS paints some pretty heavy amounts, especially if it stalls out across Iowa, as we saw. That could lead to some pretty heavy snow potential, and notice the west also seeing tons of snow. And just to demonstrate, you can see more snow chances are on their way besides that first system. And this is still all before Christmas. So just because right now you may not have snow, there's quite a bit of potential. You probably will have snow by the time Christmas is there. This model, I could just show you the older model run, since I already showed you the total snowfall amounts from this model run. Show you how it differed. Really the same. You could see kind of those two pieces of energy. Definitely a bit more disorganized with the previous model run. And with the newer one, it organizes itself a bit quicker. Does get a bit stronger, but it's not as really not as, if you will, large. I mean, it's still large, but the cold front is a bit weaker, especially right there. No signs of heavier rain, but eventually, I mean, it's still an absolute preset maker. So you can see it's been consistent for several model runs from the GFS. And now I want to show you that other models agree with the GFS. It's not just the GFS. People often ask me, or sometimes ask me, if why I choose the model order. Why did I show the GFS first? Again, it's random. I just looked at the GFS and we just looked at it first. So let's look at the European. I go over as many models as I possibly can in a 15 to 20 minute video, depending on how much I want to cover and how much I can cover. So let's take a look at the European, as I already mentioned, and start glancing over this. So this is a time bar right here, but again, generally the timing is similar, and they're in pretty good agreement. Again, you can see the European does paint a bit of snow across Virginia, West Virginia tonight. A storm is moving into portions of the west, and that kind of will play a pretty big role with that making of the with the phasing, if you will, of that southern piece of energy. And again, we have that weekend, a midweek clipper across southern Canada, so those locations may get a bit of snow. Nothing heavy, 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches, especially if it's colder and the snowfall ratios are a bit higher. But we have that northern piece, we have that southern piece. They do a relatively similar dance as what the GFS shows. Definitely the European keeps it more disorganized, and this is kind of where they start differentiating, right? So the European starts showing 2 low pressures instead of 1. It shows the phasing further to the north. There's a larger disconnect, if you will, between these 2 pieces of energy. And as we push this forward, what we see is 1 load of snow to the north with really no rain to the to the south of that, or associated with that phase. There's rain to the south, but that's with a separate low pressure, which then the European kind of evolves into a a kind of wraparound system that it's still indicating the European a strong storm with very strong winds, but definitely interesting and quite a different scenario. But you could see still loaded with precipitation, snow, sleet, ice, all possible, including rain. And we have another storm moving on to the northwest, so all the models are showing a relatively active pattern. And just to show you the European total snowfall amounts, this is what it shows. I do want to say right off the bat, I was reading the National Weather Service forecasting office for Chicago, and they were talking about the latest European model run. And they're basically saying how it doesn't have much ensemble support, meaning in a group of European-like models, most are leaning towards what the GFS is showing in the Canadian and the GFS Parallel. The European is an outlier, in other words, and it has been trending towards the other models, which gives us a pretty good indication that it is not the best model to look at currently. And as we push this into the time, notice a lot of snow still falls with the European. A big storm does occur. The timing and track is quite a bit different. And notice very heavy snow across southern Canada with this system, or with this model, unlike with the GFS models. Or the GFS has it further to the south. And I do want to show you that the European has been more all over the place, if you will. Take a look at 12 hours ago. This was the model run. Notice heavier snow, obviously across Canada, showed that, right? But it showed a bigger stripe across Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, right? And if you're to take a look at Saturday, so 24 hours ago, it didn't show really much of anything, and the GFS was already showing a snowstorm at this time. So European, as much as I like it, it doesn't have much support, and once it starts getting the system under control, I think it will do a better job. But, you just got to look at the trends. You can't just always blindly follow the European. So that's always something to keep in mind. Notice that this is the Canadian now, the GEM, right? We have the time right here in Central Standard Time. Notice a bit of snow across the Virginias, maybe North Atlantic. Sorry, the Mid-Atlantic, as this storm moves towards the North Atlantic, missing the United States. We get that warm, this week will be very warm. The Northeast will get that midweek clipper, or Southeastern Canada, depending on where you live. The Canadian has been a pretty big advocate of this clipper. You could see it strengthens it. Lots of coverage with it. Light snow, really nothing heavy, but definitely still there. And as we push this forward, notice what the Canadian does. It has a piece of energy that kind of gets out in front of the main low that comes off from, again, the Baja, from really the Pacific, but Baja, Mexico, and into the U.S. And it doesn't really phase that well with the second phase. the GFS shows and the GFS Parallel show the models, or sorry, the GFS and European show the first wave, the northern wave, further to the north, while the Canadian shows it phasing with a piece of energy that's further to the south from the southwest. And notice it still shows an absolute beast of a system, really even stronger than what the GFS is showing. But notice it's in way more agreement and alignment with what the GFS is showing versus what the European is showing. So two models agreeing versus one already kind of gives us a better idea, right? And as we push this forward, notice, I mean, this thing, all of the models, regardless of what they do, just show tons of precipitation getting dragged up. I don't really know if it will be this widespread. I mean, that's thousands of miles right there. And I don't know if that will be accurate by the Canadian, as it kind of over-exaggerated that first clipper. We'll have to see, but notice just an absolute bucket load of precipitation. I mean, my goodness, this is a lot. And at this point, you could see it's 192 hours out. So, for example, we could see maybe a second phase of a system if the Canadian is right, and this kind of delivers a second punch. So, I mean, it's just exciting to say the least. Now, again, just to show you, all models keep it active. The Canadian throws in another snowstorm before we even have a chance to eliminate that first one. So, in terms of the snowfall totals from the Canadian, they are pretty high. Obviously, this is just a snowy side to it. Notice very, very widespread heavy snow into Canada, into the U.S., into the west, into the southwest. Not much snow across the plains or the southern Midwest and the Great Lakes, but there will be quite a bit of rain. If you look at the total accumulated precipitation, there is quite a bit of rain, and this is mainly just from one system. So this thing, if it forms as predicted, will be an absolute monster of a system. Now, you say monster, shouldn't be scary or panicked or anything. It's just going to be a big storm that you have to keep an eye on for. GFS Parallel. This model is the oldest in terms of its model run. It's around 18 hours old, right? And let's see what it shows in terms of snowfall. I'm running out of time, so I don't want to track it out one piece by piece. Notice what it shows. It shows that first system, right? But it also paints a system across the Mid-Atlantic. Interesting to see that. No other model is showing that. But it only goes through 240 hours. So we'll have to see if this occurs. And just really, I forgot that it showed that feature. So now I kind of have to show you the precipitation, since I don't want to keep you guys on kind of on the edge of your seats. Again, far out. I'm not saying there will be a Mid-Atlantic snowstorm. I just want to show you what the GFS Parallel is showing. So again, a bit of light snow into the Mid-Atlantic tonight, right? But that moves away. Again, not a single model brings it on shore, so that's off. And as we push this forward into time, warm air, right? This week is very calm. Notice the midweek clipper, the GFS Parallel, keeps it further to the north, unlike the other models, which bring it in. So the GFS Parallel may have a weaker handle, but it still resonates with more of what the GFS and Canadian show versus what the European show with that weekend snowstorm. Lots of snow further to the south. It's weaker, but it's definitely more of a GFS scenario. Again, the cold front with this is very measly, not as much precipitation being dragged up, and really kind of, as I was saying, the second phase of the system, the Parallel, brings it across the Mid-Atlantic, which would be significant, right, if that were to occur, but again, not supported by many models. Then we see more snow, more precip chances, so again, pattern is active, to say the least. And finally, just to show you what the yeah, I already no, never mind, because I was gonna say snowfall. I've already showed you the GFS Parallel snowfall, and that basically leaves us at that. We don't have any high resolution models to look at. We just had a few long range models and ensembles, and again, most storms or most models, all models are showing a storm. Again, the differences are huge, and that will make a huge difference in terms of impacts and possibly intensity. So keep an eye to the sky, guys. Stay safe. It's that time of the year where we see these large precip events. I could show you what the GFS shows in terms of just precip, not just snowfall. I showed you the total precip with the Canadian. And again, the GFS US model run is still progressing. So we'll just take a model run back. Again, this is through 384 hours, so not just that first storm. But look, lots of rain, and it doesn't really miss the west either. Lots of rain. Southeastern Canada as well, quite a bit of rain. We do have some amounts into the 3 to 4 inch range, which may be overestimated, but that's what models like to do. And that's it basically for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking, consider subscribing, and I may be making a video tomorrow, 2 videos, one about the pattern, one about the update on the storm. But as of now, Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys on your next episode. See ya. Bye.